Welcome back to part 7 of our Game of the Decade series, in which we go through the 2010s year by year to find the best game of each one, before coming back to debate which of the 10 nominees are the true Game of the Decade. And this time is 2016's turn. The 5 participating GameXplain members each have 3.5 minutes to make their case for what they believe the best game of that year is, and then they'll have to defend it for the same amount of time in the interrogation round. Once everyone's presented and defended their game, we'll all vote, and that includes you too, as we're counting our lovely fan base as a 6th GameXplain member. Just use the link in the description below to make your voice heard, and we'll announce the results at the beginning of the next year's video. And speaking of which, we have a couple of results to get through this time. And first up, we have the results of our tie-breaking round between Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and Shovel Knight. And congratulations to Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for just barely edging out Shovel Knight. It was super close. Next, congratulations to Splatoon for taking the crowns of a nomination for 2015's Game of the Decade. And with that, let's get to our 2016 Game of the Decade arguments. Take it away, Steve.
Alright, y'all. I'm just going to jump straight to it. My pick for 2016 Game of the Year is a tale of 2 series. Stop me if you've heard this one, Andre. The first series is Shin Megami Tensei. And the second is Fire Emblem. And of course, to everyone but Andre, this is no surprise, because I'm talking about Tokyo Mirage Sessions for the Wii U. Andre, you love Wii U games. You're on board already,
Obviously.
Right? I mean, you nominated Nintendo Land, so you just must love every Wii U game. So, what's a Tokyo Mirage Session? I don't know. But it is a turn-based RPG that draws heavily from the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei universe, with Fire Emblem's wonderful characters, lore, and an aesthetic mix of both worlds. This is just a gorgeous, colorful game. And it has an incredible battle system, which is based around a sort of concert system where your allies can join in on your attacks. And look at these guys. Look, it's got the awesome Fire Emblem style of CGI cutscene. But don't believe me. Let's take a look at the tape. This is from my favorite YouTube channel. Whoa! And you know,
we don't want to get copyright strike.
I got copyright striked. Yeah, some guy named Andre. And just look at how the attacks go. You're like in this big concert setting, but watch this part here. So you do an attack, and then your allies come and can join in as part of your session and help you take down enemies quickly. It's just a unique spin on an RPG battle system, and I can't get enough of it. You can chain these up to 5 or 6 times, and look at these character designs. They're just gorgeous. They're incredible. Every character is just full of personality, and I promise they don't dress like that all the time. And just look at the personified versions of Fire Emblem characters. You're looking at Tharja on the right, Chrom on the left, and I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Fire Emblem guy, so I don't remember the 2 in the middle.
Sheeta, I know, is the next one, so the other girl.
Right, but they're fantastic designs. I mean, these are just objectively cool-looking takes on Nintendo characters, or Intelligent Systems characters. But cool characters, got it. Who cares? Tokyo Mirage Sessions actively encourages you to grow your bond with your party members because you can unlock new abilities for both of you. And the illusory world is a blast to play, and enemies are visible on the map, allowing you to avoid random battles entirely. And if you really want to take that avoidance to the next level, you can attack enemies before engaging with them, either to let you escape or to give you an advantage.
30 seconds.
And the extent to which Fire Emblem is integrated into the story is massive and is slowly revealed over the course of the story. Finally, just look at all these cool screenshots, or GIFs. This is bursting with personality. Can you think of another RPG that's more over the top and silly than this? These are pretty standard attacks. Finally, here's why Tokyo Mirage Sessions is the best. It's the best parts of Fire Emblem, Persona, and Shin Megami Tensei. It has memorable characters, side quests that are actually fun, and excellent humor, and read the rest yourself.
Oh, he's pushing it.
Good job, Steve.
Nicely done.
Almost fit it all in there.
Good job, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time.
I might blow your mind, Steve, on why it's titled Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Flip the order: Shin Megami Tensei, Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Ooh.
Boom.
Oh crap! I wish I was on something when you said that. that actually, I did not even consider that.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's time for a cross-examination. Who wants to start things off here?
Steve, I paid for an English game, and this game has no English voice acting at all. And even in the battles, they scream dialogue, and I have no idea what they're saying. Defend that.
It's called Tokyo Mirage Sessions, not American Mirage Session.
Was that
I mean, that's it. All right.
Oh wow, that's your
Yeah,
answer.
that's it.
Steve, why do you think it's pronounced GIF and not GIF?
Because it is an acronym,
Wow.
not a word. Graphic, g. Yeah.
And how do you
Nice.
pronounce JPEG, which is also an acronym? All right, no, continuing on that.
All right, so there is a swath of the gaming community, unfortunately, that just hates anything that even resembles anime. Just on principle, they just hate it. They don't have a reason. They don't have a rhyme. They just hate anime. How do you defend this game to the anime haters out there on principle?
I think that I think that this game is not based solely along its visual style, right? First off, anime is just short for animation, but that's a whole other debate. Secondly, it is a fantastic, competent RPG, one of the best on the Wii U, and it's going to be one of the best games Nintendo releases next decade too, because it comes out in January 2020 on the Switch. But visual games can't be boiled down to just their visual presentation. There's a ton mechanically going for this game. I spent over half of my presentation talking about how awesome this battle system is, and you owe it to yourself if you're a fan of RPGs to try what is truly a unique battle system that hasn't been replicated in any other game of its kind.
So we have a lot of new Persona fans thanks to Persona 5, which I believe came out after this game, and they might actually be interested in this, Steve. So how would you sell somebody that's played Persona 5 and wants that, especially with Royal coming out so soon, how do you convince them to play Tokyo Mirage Sessions now it's coming to the Switch?
So, there is a similar aesthetic between Persona 5 and Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but if you want something that's a lot lighter and in a lot of ways respects your time a bit more than Persona 5, because Persona 5 is a huge game. By comparison, Tokyo Mirage Sessions feels a bit more quaint. It takes a lot less time to get through. I think this is like a 35 to 40 hour game, whereas Persona 5 can really put you through the ringer from a time perspective. So if you want something like that's more of an easy read, as it were, this is a great game for that, and it still gives you kind of all the fun of the Persona world, but with a bit of Nintendo's own kind of weird quirkiness sprinkled into it in the form of the Fire Emblem characters.
All right, Steve, you already brought up the fact that it's a Wii U game, and you pointed out that I myself am a fan of some Wii U games. But one thing that the best Wii U games do is make good use of the gamepad. How does Tokyo Mirage Sessions use the gamepad effectively?
It kind of takes a page out of the Switch's game book in that it doesn't.
I remember text.
30 seconds.
Yeah, there's text.
Okay.
Anything else?
Tell me about those dungeons, Steve.
I will be the first to admit that there's one I don't like. It's the one with the mannequin arms, because I'm really bad at remembering which positions go where. But other than that, they are freaking excellent. Some of them, like there's one that's themed after an old Japanese theater, and you run into demons that are trying to be actors, and it's just like all the even the enemies are these crazy
And
over the top
time.
characters that are fun to interact with.
All right.
There you
Good
go,
job,
well
Steve.
done.
All right. Well done.
Steve.
Okay. All right. I believe, John, you're up next. Are you able?
We'll see. We'll see if I can talk long enough. All right. So, my 2016 Game of the Year. What if Nintendo made an FPS? So Nintendo, when they make their games, they justify them by the gameplay mechanics. When they put Yoshi in Mario Galaxy, they had to make sure that he had a purpose, and he wasn't just there for aesthetic. Splatoon was made entirely around being able to go in the ink, using ink to fire. Ink is the entire purpose of that game. Doom 2016, though, may not be made by Nintendo. It may not be colourful. It may have blood everywhere, but it captures the pure essence of moment-to-moment fun. But what makes it so good? Well, it's an outstanding reboot. Doom and Doom 2, the original Doom and Doom 2, they were such fun games and they still hold up today. So how do you make that and modernize it? Well, I think the way to do it is to laugh in the face of cover-based shooters. Doom's 2016 is so different to other modern shooters because you're not meant to hide. If you hide, you are at a disadvantage. the way you can get kills, well, the way to survive in Doom is basically to use these melee attacks like shown in the GIF on the right over here. Doing that makes them drop ammo and health. So you're incentivized to go out there and put yourself in danger. That is the way to stay alive in this game. And there's big-ass guns. Look at the BFG over here. Look at that, just blow up everybody in an explosion of blood. Everything's extreme. You punch switches, you don't just press a switch. And the glory kills are quick and brutal as well. They don't waste any time. It's just moment-to-moment fun. There's barely any downtime in Doom. And the violence, I think, is more cartoonish than gross. I think if there's just like entrails flying everywhere, it's going to get a little bit iffy. But Doom just kind of makes it seem fun because it's just so quick and it's just it feels so good to kill people in this game. And you're thinking, John, talking about that shotgun. Well, the shotgun is iconic in Doom. And I'm saying there are 2 shotguns in Doom 2016. Which one do you want me to talk about? Every weapon serves a double purpose. Weapons can be modified to do whatever you want them to do. So a shotgun can have like a grenade launcher on the end. Or if you watch this GIF here, you'll see that the assault rifle fires some rockets in just a moment. Pew pew pew, blowing everybody up. Weapons are cozy in this game. You always have access to all of your weapons at any point, and of course, if you want to keep getting more and more ammo, you've got to be really brutal, up close and personal. And there's the versatility. This is a game about movement, about speed, about agility. So in Doom, I feel like, unlike any other shooter, you're just always incentivized to be in the fray. It has distinct enemies too, like this is the Kako demon right here. Make him a silhouette, you can instantly recognize him from a distance. It's such a good design, and the same is true of the Baron of Hell. Look at him there. That is, you can't confuse that with any other character. So I think the main part of Doom is, like, look at this character design here. Like, if you see him on the field, he's going to look like every other character in the game. Whereas all these demons are very, very different from one another. So if you see the Baron of Hell, you know it's time to bring out a big boy gun, like the BFG. So, secrets too, the original Doom. You can find areas that look just like the original Doom in this game. It is a joy to behold. It's just such a fun game to check every nook and cranny and kill absolutely everything in sight. So, vote Doom, because look at this. How could you not want to vote for this? It's like, we've got to finish, wait for this gift to finish. Vote for Doom.
Oh, that's
nice.
pretty great.
Beautiful.
All right, good job, John.
Good job.
You might win me over there with that GIF at the end.
You mean
Nicely done.
All right. You ready for the cross-examination?
Sure.
Here we go. John, what do you have to say to the fact that your entire argument is doomed?
To show it, provide a bit more context there.
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I feel like Doom is one of the best first-person shooters ever made. I think this is in some ways better than Half-Life 2. Some ways better than Halo. It's just so fast and frantic. And the variety. When you go to hell, you know that you're in for some real pain there. And it's just so insanely glorified. I love Doom. So that's it's not Doom. It's going to win this year.
So, John, I'll admit I have not fully finished the game, but I have played some, and I foolishly decided to go on hard mode, which is not exactly part of my question, but that's part of the reason why I kind of stopped, because it was kicking my butt. Anyway, I was also trying to go for all the secrets, and going for those secrets, I kind of got a little bored because they are pretty well hidden, and they really slowed down the pace. So, you said they're fun to look for. I'm not so sure.
I think it depends what you're doing. I think if you're just going through the main story for the first time, you're probably best off just playing at your own pace. I think the secrets are there if you want to find them, if you want more out of the game. Because there is a multiplayer mode in Doom, but that's not the strength. The strength is the single player. The strength is going into these levels and finding non-linear paths. So yeah, I think if you are just spending your entire time looking for secrets on your first run, I think you're missing out on the bulk of the game.
All right, John, does Doom do anything to kind of appeal to non-shooter fans such as myself who may not even take a second look at it, even if they respect the series' legacy? They're just not into shooters. Is there a reason for non-shooter fans to check out this game?
I think absolutely. I think this is at its core, Doom is about gameplay. There is no exposition like a lot of other shooters have. You're just in the fray right from the beginning. So when the game starts, you're like chained to this sort of bed thing, and you literally just rip off your chains and start smashing some demons. I think that Doom's brutality is what makes it so appealing, and I think that this, the pace of Doom is what's going to appeal to those who don't usually like shooters. I think this is like, as I said at the beginning, this is basically like a Nintendo design philosophy. So I definitely think that non-shooter fans would find appeal in this.
So one of the things Nintendo games do, though, is they take an example or take a mechanic and build upon it consistently throughout the game. What does Doom do to kind of harken back to that style of gameplay where they evolve the concept over the course of the game?
I think it does it with its enemies. So it slowly introduces these very distinct enemies. You've got the Kako Demon, you've got the Baron of Hell. There's all these different types, and they slowly get a bit more I guess a bit more aggressive as they go on. So you get bigger demons with bigger guns. And but the best part of that is you know what gun does the best, like is most effective, and what demon, because they're just so iconic in their shapes and their silhouettes. So yeah, I think you are, like, when you start off and when you end, you are just shooting a gun from beginning to end. But I think it escalates with its character designs.
30 seconds. I have another one. John, you're like the biggest spokesman ever for motion controls. How are the motion controls, the motion aiming in Doom?
Fantastic, Ash. So there's a Switch version of Doom, and the motion controls really enhance the gameplay. It's perfectly playable with a gamepad, but when you're playing with a keyboard and mouse, you can definitely do some sort of maneuvers that you couldn't do with a gamepad. And Gyro enables that while having the comfort of a gamepad.
Counterpoint, though, they weren't in the original release, which is the one you're championing here.
I think that's my time.
And time.
All right.
Yep,
good job, John.
Yay!
Okay, I believe, Ash, you are up.
Yes.
Okay, Game of the Year 2016, let's jump right in. So what do these games have in common? Look at these fantastic games. Chrono Trigger, FF6, Lunar, Legend of Legaia, etc. They are some of the most beloved JRPGs from JRPG's golden age, the 16 and 32-bit eras. They offer epic, memorable journeys through a huge imaginative world, or worlds in some cases, like FF6. They have a cast of characters that you can't help but love and you grow close to. They feel like your best friends by the end of the adventure. There's engaging turn-based combat that seeks to innovate in its own ways per game, excellent soundtracks, and there's not a whole lot of, if any, artificial padding or filler content. And remember, this is such an important point for my game. Innovation is not a prerequisite to greatness. So many people might tell you it is, but if you are best in class at doing what has come before and you innovate on that or you modernize it in small, meaningful ways, that's just as important. So you don't have to have a completely new idea to be considered to be one of the best. So with that in context, taking something that's been done really well before and making it even better in a modern context, my game of the year for 2016 is Bravely Second in Lair. This is one of the best modern representations of a 32-bit / 16-bit style JRPG for a modern audience. It has all the aforementioned characteristics I just went through. Story, amazing world, great music, great visuals, but it modernizes that experience with meaningful quality of life updates for a contemporary audience who might not have as much free time as we did when we were kids. It also improves upon its immediate predecessor, Bravely Default, while, and by addressing its main problem, which was repetition. There was this time loop, and the story got really repetitive. Plus, I will champion the 3DS's stereoscopic 3D forever. This is one of the best games to take advantage of it, and it looks beautiful. Look at these landscapes. You can't see it in 3D, of course, but trust me, they deliver. So let's talk about those quality of life updates. I place a huge amount of importance on respecting the player's time. You guys know that. Anybody who follows me knows that. So, if RPGs are infamous for not respecting the player's time. But this game, if you want to grind, you can set the encounter speed to max. You can set the battles to the max speed and grind. In addition to that, one-turn victory bonuses stack across encounters and multiply the experience you gain, making grinding even more convenient. But if you need to get to a save point or get back out to the world map, you can turn off encounters. If you find the game too hard, too easy, you can change the difficulty on the fly. This is more common today, but back when Bravely Second came out, this wasn't as common in JRPGs, which is something I really love about it. In essence, the game meets the player where they are and encourages them to play it how they want in a manner that caters to their schedule and or free gaming time. This is so important to me. It also mixes up the usual turn-based battle system in meaningful ways. You can default to defend and stock up Brave Points, which are essentially turns, and then you can blow all those Brave Points on a single turn to attack multiple times, which also unlocks special abilities and damage bonuses. But bosses can do this too, so you have to get a really good feel for strategically stocking up turns and knowing when to Brave in order to survive. There are also 30 different job classes that each character can mix and match between, and that allows for insane levels of customization. And in closing,
30
Idia.
seconds.
Just Idia. Look at her. She's one if you played either of these games, you know she is the best character ever, and I gotta end it with Murker. And that's my game of the year 2016.
Alright. Well done, Ash.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
What?
Thanks.
Nicely done. All right. Well, let's open it up to cross-examination. Who wants to start things off this time?
I'll go ahead and start.
All right, Steve.
So, Ash, I tried to play Bravely Default, and it just did not work for me at all. I don't like it. It just was not an RPG that I really enjoyed much. Do I have to... If I don't like Bravely Default, am I going to like Bravely Second?
It depends on what you didn't like about Bravely Default. If you got to the part where most people do in Bravely Default, which is the time loop, which, introduces a lot of repetition into the story, it's for a reason, but it doesn't come off well. So if that's what you didn't like about it, yes. If there are other things you didn't like about it, probably not, because it's very similar in tone and gameplay content to the first game, other than getting that time loop repetition element out.
Is the soundtrack better than the first game?
It is not. I'm glad you asked that. The soundtrack is still really good, but the first game's is legendary. It was composed by a guy named Revo, who did an amazing job. The second game soundtrack is good, but it's the one part of Bravely Second that I would say is not as good as Bravely Default. Everything else, though, is better.
Explain to the audience why this game is called Bravely Second and not Bravely Default 2, like our third Bravely Default game.
You say that like I work for Square Enix. I don't know. I have no idea. I thought we'd get Bravely Third as well, and I'm a little sad that we're not. My guess is that Bravely Default 2 is going to be a brand new story with brand new characters based on the general themes and mechanics of Bravely Default 1, and maybe not follow off from Bravely Second. That's my guess.
So based off that idea, since Bravely Default and Bravely Second are so well connected, how much do you need to play the original Bravely Default to understand what's going on in Bravely Second?
They are very important to one another, and I recommend, if you're not interested in playing Bravely Default, which I understand given the repetition element of the story, certainly, watch a YouTube recap or a Wikipedia article, and maybe you can say, well, a game shouldn't have to be predicated on a previous game's knowledge, but it's just like 2 chapters of a story, and I think it is more than worth it for the ultimate impact of everything that happens in Second, as long as you have the context for things that happened in Default.
Alright, Ash, I know music is incredibly important to you, so if this soundtrack isn't as good as the first game's, which is a game you didn't nominate for that game, for that release dates, or for that year as Game of the Year, what is it about this game that makes it so much better that it can offset the weaker soundtrack?
Because, Andre, I am an objective critic, and as much as I love video game music, I can't...
Yeah, those exist.
I can't... I'm as objective as possible, but as much as I love video game music, I can't inflate it to be more important than the rest of the game. So, yes, the soundtrack isn't as good, but everything else is better. The story is truly epic. The world feels lived in. It feels huge to explore. And the length is earned. There's no filler, no padding content, and... Also, I didn't mention this in my presentation, but the game breaks the fourth layer. The game breaks the fourth wall in ways I've never seen a JRPG do before. So, yes, the music isn't as good, but it's still good. But everything else about the game is better, and that's more than enough to overshadow the slightly worse music for me.
15 seconds. Tell me about the towns, Ash.
The towns benefit so much from the 3DS's stereoscopic 3D, and they are so diverse. You've got so many different design ethoses and cultural impacts or cultural styles. The towns are as varied as they are beautiful. All right. Thank you.
Good job, Ash.
And you guys just all want to keep talking about your games.
Apparently. All right, well, now it's your turn, Derek, to talk about your game.
All right, Game of the Year 2016. Once again, it's time for me to build bonds between me and you because you, the voting public, are so important, and these bridges are also really important. And let's build them together with Dragon Quest Builders, because this is one of the most fantastic games to come out in 2016, and I just adored it because it is Minecraft done better. People wondered why we didn't nominate Minecraft. Well, first, who knows when that game actually came out? It was in beta for so long.
Good point.
2, I need something more than what Minecraft offers. And thankfully, Dragon Quest Builders offers appealing character designs. They're cute, but they still carry that same Toriyama art style. Plus, it has an actual story. You're not just building up things and trying to go after the Ender Dragon. You're actually saving the world. You're bringing it back from the brink. And it's surprisingly engaging. Plus, it is super easy to pick up and play with plenty of room for imagination because there are so many recipes out there and things to build that you can really go off and do whatever you like and make it count. But it also is a brilliant idea for a sequel because, even though this is an original game that you can play on your own with no issues, it's actually technically a sequel because the original Dragon Quest had a choice before the final boss, and this was back in the old NES Famicom days. The main villain offered to give you half the world, and if you took that option, He would play a bit of a trick on you, but he'd still control the world. And this takes the idea and says, what if that actually happened? This is what happened to the world if that choice was made. And that's so cool as far as a gameplay basis. The Builders builds off of what happened to the world off of this choice, and the story is surprisingly compelling with how bleak some of the situations are. You have medical issues going around you got to find the cures for, and people are just dying left and right. This is a harsh game despite the cute look. It also is just full of charm. The world is fun to explore, and in the main story mode, there isn't a lot of. It doesn't have the random elements that Minecraft has, but I think that also works in its favor and is beneficial because you know what you're looking for, you learn the layout, you know what you want to do, and it's easy to keep track of everything. The combat is kept simple, but as the game emphasizes, you're no hero. You're not gaining levels normally. You got to build things in order to increase your stats and make better weapons to make combat easier. And it's something that, like, building your town until it's just right is so addictive and soothing. Like, I am not creative at all. Mario Maker did nothing for me, but I played so many games where you can create and nothing's done it for me. I just don't get invested. But finding just the right way to make my town and get everything just right was really addictive and the only time that's ever worked for me in a game. Plus, you can go freeform if you really want. There's an open area where you can freely build from amongst your gathered recipes from throughout the story, and it's perfect for those who just want to see what they can create. Plus, newcomers are welcome. Again, you do not need to have any knowledge of Dragon Quest to enjoy yourself. You can just, you have this inviting art style, and the controls are really simple to pick up and play, and it's an easygoing game with some challenge. I don't think you're going to die a lot, but, you know, you'll have some challenges in there. Plus, there's simple joy.
All right.
I had a blast.
Good job, Derek.
Nicely done.
Thank you. That is the end. There we go.
All right. Cross-examination time. Who's got a question for Derek?
Derek, Dragon Quest Builders 2 lets you bring all of your items from the chapter back to the Isle of Awakening, the main hub. Whereas in Dragon Quest Builders 1, you lose all your items and start from scratch in the next chapter. How does it feel losing all of your items and having no progress in the next chapter of the game?
I'll admit, the first time that happened, I was a little bummed, but I also kind of liked what they did with that in later chapters because, not to spoil things too much, but in the final chapter, things are so sparse and it is so hard to build things up that if you did have access to everything that you had built before, it'd be too easy. It would take away from the bleakness of that chapter. And the game's kind of built around this idea that you're leaving each one behind and moving on to the next. And yeah, it's a little bit of a downer, but I love how they use it as an opportunity to introduce new elements and whatnot. Unlike Builders 2, there's no central hub that you bring everything back to. So it would just be carrying it forward the entire time, and I think that would actually take away a bit from the game, as aggravating as it is to lose those elements.
So looking at this picture, the environments look very blocky. Is that a barrier at all to being immersed in this story?
I don't think so. It's meant to be blocky. It's each thing is a cube in creation that to make the building easier. It really sets out what you're doing in each one and where you're going to set things. It's a guiding principle, and like I said, even though everything is tiny and cutesy and blocky, they really do milk the environments and the locations and situations for all they're worth to get some actual drama out of all of this. And yeah, I mean, it's blocky, but it's obviously inspired by Minecraft, but I like what it does to differentiate itself from Minecraft, because the enemies aren't blocky. They aren't like, basic 8-bit 3D things that Minecraft does. These are actual monsters, and I think that adds to it and makes it its own thing.
To piggyback off that, Derek, what else does Dragon Quest Builders do to justify its own existence in a world where Minecraft and other endlessly inspired by Minecraft games exist?
I really have to emphasize the story. It's the fact that you have these items that you can easily see. You can see what they do. You have villagers that interact with them and take advantage of them, or help you in different ways, or give you missions. But that story to push you forward and actually do these things. Because if I was just dropped in this world and say, okay, do your thing, I'd lose interest in the same way Minecraft did. But to have a focus, a thing to actually accomplish around each corner, that makes this game stand out and makes it so much better for people like me who need a little bit of a push in order to actually enjoy creation aspects.
Is the combat good, Derek?
It's basic. I mean, you're slashing back and forth. You're not dodging anything. Again, you're not a fighter. You're a builder, so you can run around and dodge, but you're not going to get advanced combat in this.
Derek, I recently got really into Dragon Quest Builders 2 on the Switch, but I've never played Dragon Quest Builders 1. Is there any reason in a world where Dragon Quest Builders 2 exists that I should go back and play this?
That does make it a little difficult to go back to, because I think Builders 2 naturally builds off of the original Builders' weaknesses. Like the freeform mode in Builders 2 actually has a multiplayer element to it. You can play with your friends. That's really cool. The story is expanded, and as John mentioned, you can bring recipes back to your home base and really build up your home base.
And
there are
time.
a lot of advantages that Builders 2, to quickly answer in one sentence, it's because the story, I think, stands on its own. It still is interesting on its own, but you are losing some quality of life improvements.
I think we just strike that from the record.
Well, I believe I am up next. Are you guys ready to be wowed?
Is that your game? Are you saying you nominated WoW?
No, of
Yes.
course
Oh god,
it
you
isn't.
picked WoW.
Did it come out like a century earlier?
maybe an update came out. I don't really know.
All right, well, I counter that with my game of the decade argument for 2016 being
If this is not
Where
a
is
cow
it?
game,
a moving
God.
argument. Moving, get it? So, you're going to die. All of you. You're all going to die, including everyone at home. Everyone's dead at some point in their life.
Yeah.
And it's what you do with that time that really
so sad.
matters. And that gets to the heart of what is my game of the year, being Stardew Valley. It opens with your grandpa being on his deathbed, and he basically hands you a letter that he asks you not to open until you feel burdened by modern life. So it then shifts to your character, either a male or female, working in their cubicle, and you just feel overwhelmed by what actual life can be. It's when you open this letter and you discover that your grandfather has gifted you his entire farm, basically his real estate. His entire legacy is now yours, and he asks you to do what you want with it. So Stardew Valley is about a dream of starting over. Like, what if you were able to start your life over and start fresh? That's basically the entire premise of Stardew Valley, as we can see illustrated here by riding the bus to Stardew Valley, which is only half a mile away at this point. So in Stardew Valley, the world is your oyster. There are so many activities you can go about, none of which are required. You can farm, you can plant seeds and tend to your livestock if you want. You can try increasing production by building out your farm, or you can try building out your house if you want and increase your living space. You can go fishing, you can go foraging, you can go crafting if you want using the stuff you found. You can help citizens in the town if you choose to, or ignore them if you want. You can work on community projects such as building up a better community center. You can go dungeon crawling in this game. You can get a sword and just dig underground if you want and see how many enemies you can defeat.
Sounds like Fantasy
and,
Life.
you can focus on your social life. Probably also like Fantasy Life, I imagine, maybe. You can choose to get married in this game if you want, or you can choose to ignore it. And I'll have more on that in a little bit here. This game also has mysteries, some really cool mysteries, such as what's behind this locked grate or this locked sewer? What's with the minecarts in town? And what's with some of these mysterious characters? There are constant mysteries to kind of pull you through the adventure. So even if even if you don't feel particularly driven yourself, there's something here to keep you going. Or you can ignore the mysteries if you want to. That's totally up to you. Stardew Valley is really about your story, and as part of this, you are able to create your character to whatever degree you want. You can choose your gender. You can make them look however you want. There are no gender-specific options. It doesn't really matter what gender you choose, but regardless, you are able to marry whoever you want to in this game. There are same-sex relationships. As long as there is an eligible person in your town who's single, you can choose to marry them if you want, basically. So yeah, you can really make Stardew Valley your own story. Which also is to get to the point, this game is obviously based on Harvest Moon, and Harvest Moon kind of dropped the ball in its later years. So if you gave
30 seconds.
Harvest Moon a big batch of steroids, that is Stardew Valley. So basically, Stardew Valley is just a fulfilling adventure. It's your story, it's what you make of it, it's how you use the valuable time you have to make your second life whatever you want. I rest my case.
Andre, that graphic definitely says fooling.
All right.
Whatever. in my presentation, I can make it
that's
however I want.
fulfilling, it made a new
I find it
word.
fulfilling to not spell check my own presentation.
So
Oh
good.
my gosh.
All right.
All right, so let's open up the cross-examination, man. Take it away, guys.
Who did you marry, Andre?
I actually have not married anyone yet. I'm very much living my life in Stardew Valley as I am in real life, apparently.
All right, Andre. So one of the things I noticed about this game, at least with the way my dad played it, because I've not really played it myself, but you talk about getting around the the doldrums of modern life. You're going to the office every day. It's the same thing in and out. Well, he got so efficient in all the things that he was doing in his farm that he was still doing the same thing every day. Wake up, take care of the chickens, go to plant, do this, do that. Same thing day in and day out. And so does this game really solve the doldrums of your life?
Who's he, Derek? There is no singular he in this game. Yeah, if that's how you chose to live your life, your second life, that's on you. You deserve that. You got a reset button and you chose to return to the same essence of your existing life. That's on you. No, the great thing about this game is you can. It's completely free form. You don't have to focus on the farming life. You can make that a smaller portion, like a more balanced portion of your daily, your daily tasks. Your land is paid for. You don't have to pay rent. So it's really just about what you want to focus on. You can go fishing the rest of your life if you want. You can essentially live homeless in this game if you choose to do so. The game doesn't really tell you what to do. It's really up to you. So I would propose that if you end up in that grueling day-to-day life, maybe that's just the life that's for you. if that's how you play Stardew Valley.
We didn't nominate Animal Crossing New Leaf. Is this game better than New Leaf?
Oh, this game is unquestionably better than New Leaf. New Leaf is Stardew Valley without like any kind of structure. It's even more freeform, and I find a lacking reward in that sense. Because I found there's very little external goals to work for. Whereas in Stardew Valley, those exist. You're free to ignore them if you want, as I laid out. But I like that there's incremental rewards to go for. Whereas Animal Crossing is focused more on just collecting a bunch of virtual crap. and once you get over that, I don't know, it doesn't hold the same appeal to me. There's nothing to get really better at in Animal Crossing. It's all very leisurely. And I see why that would appeal to some people, but for me, Stardew Valley, I prefer its slightly more game-like structure if you choose to acknowledge it. And I preferred it for that reason. Because I do like running a farm, as it turns out, in video games at least, and bettering its return.
All right, Andre. When a game gives me too many things to do, too many directions to go in at the outset, I tend to succumb to the paralysis of analysis. I just can't choose. It's too overwhelming. Does this game do a good job at easing players who might be like me into specific tasks or kind of nudge you forward?
I don't know if it does, but that might be a good thing, I think, because it doesn't lock you into like a way of thinking, I feel. Where
30 seconds.
You may not feel pressured, or you may not feel the same pressure in the same way, because it's pretty freeform in what it allows you to do. I think it offers like some super light feedback depending on who you talk to, or guidance, I suppose. But yeah, it's really up to you, like what you want to focus on. So I don't think that'd be much of an issue, but yeah.
Can you get a dog?
Can you force your friends in multiplayer to look at a beetle?
You can get a dog. And what about multiplayer?
Can you force your friends to look at your beetle, Andre?
I don't even know what that means.
And time.
Not as good as Animal Crossing.
Saved by the bell.
Am I the only one that harasses my friends with my beetles and fish?
What does that mean?
I don't play Animal Crossing.
That sounds so bad.
We are talking about literal beetles and fish, right?
Yes.
And that's the end of our 2016 Game of the Decade debate. So we're off to go vote. And you should go vote too using the link in the description below. Remember, your votes count as if you are a 6th Game Explained member. So make sure to check back tomorrow to see who won 2016, along with our debate as to which game from 2017 could be our Game of the Decade. Hey, if you click that subscribe button and ring the bell, you'll be notified as soon as the video's up. And with that, we'll see you tomorrow.